The silence that fell over Kingsley's, Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant, was so thick it seemed to have weight. Conversation ceased, cutlery froze in midair, and dozens of eyes fixed on the small space between the mahogany tables where crystal glasses caught the amber light of the chandelier's .10-year-old Luna Montgomery was visibly shaking. Her legs trapped in metal braces wavered as she reached out to Maya Thompson, the restaurant's only black waitress. The live piano had just begun a soft melody, Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, and the girl's impulse to ask someone to dance came without warning, born from some deep place where music still meant joy instead of rehabilitation schedules. "Sir, control your daughter." Manager Blake's sharp voice cut through the silence like a blade through silk. "That's inappropriate. This is not a dance hall, and our employees are not here to entertain children. Welcome to the Black Side Stories." Before we continue, tell me in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, subscribe to our channel and help us share their stories. Robert Montgomery, owner of Montgomery Investments and one of the richest men in the country, swallowed hard. It was the first time he had taken Luna out to dinner in public since the accident that had partially paralyzed her legs 2 years earlier, a mistake he was already regretting. "Luna, sit down." The order came low but firm, carrying the weight of a man accustomed to immediate obedience in boardrooms and business deals. Maya remained motionless, her dark eyes shifting between the manager, the billionaire, and the girl whose small hand was still hanging in the air like a question mark against the restaurant's oppressive formality. In her 5 years working at Kingsley's, she had learned to become invisible, especially to customers like Montgomery. "Mr. Blake, I'm leaving. My shift is over." Her voice sounded calm, controlled, as she removed her crisp white apron and placed it carefully on the silver tray. Then, to everyone's amazement, including her own, she smiled at Luna and took the girl's trembling hand. "I can't dance in an apron." Robert stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the polished floor. "What do you think you're doing?" Maya held his gaze steadily, something she had never done in 5 years of service. "I'm accepting an invitation, sir." Before anyone could interfere, Luna took a hesitant step forward. Her right foot dragged painfully across the floor, and the metal of her braces created a harsh scraping sound that made several diners wince visibly. But Maya didn't try to guide her or hurry her along. She simply adjusted her own pace to match Luna's, as if this were the most natural thing in the world. Robert watched, paralyzed by a sudden memory that struck him like lightning. Catherine, his late wife, dancing with Luna in their living room just months before the accident. Luna had been spinning in circles, her laughter filling the space, and Catherine had said, "It's not about perfection, Robert. It's about connection. She needs to know that movement can be joy, not just therapy." As Maya followed Luna's clumsy, uncertain steps, something in the girl's eyes changed. The fear that had become her constant companion, fear of falling, fear of stairs, fear of being different, gave way to intense concentration. For the first time since the night that changed everything, Luna wasn't being guided or corrected. She was leading, and someone was following her rhythm instead of imposing their own. "Mr. Montgomery." Manager Blake's voice interrupted Robert's thoughts, sharp with barely contained fury. "She will be properly disciplined. Security will escort her out immediately." But Luna's smile, the first genuine smile Robert had seen from his daughter in 2 years, was the only sound that echoed in his mind, drowning out everything else. Maya led the girl back to the table after just 3 dance steps, each one a small victory. "Thank you for asking me to dance," she said formally, as if Luna's invitation had been the most important request she'd received all evening. It was an honor. When she turned to leave, Robert stopped her. "Wait." His voice sounded different, softer, uncertain in a way that Robert Montgomery never allowed himself to be in public. "What's your full name?" "Maya Thompson, sir." Robert nodded slowly, then reached into his jacket and withdrew a business card. "My office. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. The entire restaurant held its breath. Maya accepted the card without showing emotion, though her hand trembled slightly. "Dad," Luna called as Maya walked away. "Why did you do that?" The question hung in the air like an accusation, like a challenge, like the beginning of something neither of them could yet understand. The lobby of Montgomery Tower sparkled with its floor-to-ceiling glass walls and imported marble floors. Maya Thompson immediately felt out of place in her best outfit, a navy blue skirt and white blouse bought on sale at Macy's 3 months ago. "Maya Thompson to see Mr. Montgomery," she said to the receptionist, whose smile never reached her eyes. 18th floor. "Miss Carter will see you." In the elevator, Maya took a deep breath, clutching her worn leather purse. It wasn't fear she felt. It was a quiet determination that came from having survived things that would have broken other people. Miss Carter escorted Maya through mirrored hallways lined with abstract art worth more than most people's houses. "He had you fired, didn't he?" she asked suddenly. "Powerful clients call, and people like you lose their jobs." "People like me?" Maya's voice was calm, but there was steel beneath the surface. "You know what I mean." Maya smiled, but there was no amusement in it. And where exactly would that be? Robert Montgomery's office took up half the floor, with windows that offered a view of Manhattan like a personal playground spread out below. The man stood with his back to the door, gazing out as if the city were his personal kingdom. "Miss Thompson, thank you for coming." He gestured toward a leather chair. "Please sit." The calculated silence that followed was designed to make nervous people talk too much. "Do you have a background?" Robert finally asked. "Education. College." Maya kept her gaze steady. "Bachelor's degree in child development from NYU. Incomplete master's degree in special education." Something flashed across Robert's face. Surprise. "And you work as a waitress?" "I work 3 jobs, actually. The restaurant, a bookstore on weekends, and as a tutor when I can get students." Robert moved to his desk, picking up a thick folder. "I did some research on you, Miss Thompson." He opened the folder, revealing photographs of a community center, children with mobility devices, and newspaper clippings. "Freedom Steps. You founded that 6 years ago." "I co-founded it with my sister Ava, a dance program for children with physical disabilities, which is now about to close due to lack of funding." Maya showed no surprise. "I didn't come here to ask you for money, Mr. Montgomery." "Then why did you come?" "Because you invited me." Robert laughed, a sound devoid of joy. "I want you to work for me, as a therapeutic companion for Luna." His daughter's name seemed difficult to say. "I have the best specialists in the country, but what you did yesterday." It was the first time I've seen her smile since the accident. "I can pay you 5 times what you're making now," Robert added. Maya stood up slowly. "No." Robert looked genuinely shocked. "You're turning down an offer that would solve your financial problems out of pride." "Out of dignity," Maya corrected. "And because your daughter deserves more than someone hired to pretend to care about her." She walked toward the door, but paused. "Luna doesn't need more experts, Mr. Montgomery. She needs space to lead her own life. She needs someone to follow her rhythm instead of trying to force her into someone else's." She took a business card from her purse and placed it on his desk. "Freedom Steps. Classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, for PM. If you'd like to bring Luna, the first class is free." As Maya left, she passed Miss Carter, whose face showed shock and grudging admiration. "You just turned down an offer from Robert Montgomery," Miss Carter whispered. "Are you completely insane?" Maya smiled genuinely for the first time since entering the building. "Maybe, but I'd rather be crazy than be property." 2 days later, Maya was at the community center when her sister Ava burst through the door with excitement. "There's a Bentley parked outside," Ava whispered. "And you won't believe who's inside." Through the scratched window, Maya saw the luxurious car. Luna was in the back seat, looking anxiously out the window. Robert remained in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel as if fighting an internal battle. "He's not coming in," Ava predicted. "Men like him don't come to places like this." Maya smiled, remembering Luna's determined gaze. Don't underestimate the power of a determined daughter. The car door opened, and Luna got out slowly, adjusting her braces. Then, to everyone's surprise, Robert got out too, wearing khaki pants and a navy sweater that still somehow screamed wealth. "I told you he'd come," Maya murmured. Freedom Steps operated out of an old warehouse converted into a community center. Through volunteer efforts and donated materials, handmade posters decorated the walls with phrases like "your rhythm," "your rules," and "every move counts," created by the children themselves in bright colors. When Robert and Luna entered, they were struck by the sound of laughter mixing with music. Children with various mobility devices were practicing free movements, their faces bright with concentration and pleasure. Mr. Montgomery, Maya approached, wearing jeans and a Freedom Steps t-shirt. "Welcome. And Luna, I'm so glad you decided to come." Luna watched the other children in awe. A girl in a wheelchair was spinning in graceful circles while a boy with a prosthetic leg had created his own sequence of steps. Another child with cerebral palsy was working with a volunteer on flowing arm movements. "It looks chaotic," Robert commented, his discomfort obvious. "There is structure," Maya replied patiently. "It's just not the kind you recognize." She turned to Luna, kneeling to the girl's eye level. "Would you like to join in? You can start with whatever feels comfortable." Luna nodded enthusiastically, but looked back at her father for permission. "Go ahead," Robert said, anxiety tight in his voice. "I'll be right here." As Maya guided Luna toward the group, Ava approached Robert with a folding chair. "The first day is always the hardest," Ava commented gently. "For the parents, not the kids." "This isn't therapy," Robert argued, watching his daughter intensely. "I've hired the best rehabilitation specialists money can buy." "And how has that been working for Luna?" Ava asked pointedly. The studio door opened and an older woman entered, leaning on an ornate wooden cane. She had salt and pepper hair and elegant braids and commanding presence. "Dr. Helen Foster," Ava whispered to Robert, neuroscientist specializing in brain plasticity, retired from Harvard Medical School. The woman noticed Robert, her eyes sharpening with recognition. "Mr. Montgomery," she said, approaching directly. "You've rejected my research proposal 3 times in the last 2 years. I didn't expect to see you here. I oversee the research component of our program," she explained. "We're conducting a longitudinal study on how non-directive approaches to movement affect neural reconfiguration in children with motor challenges." Robert frowned. "I thought this was just a community dance class." Maya returned from helping Luna. Freedom Steps is a pilot motor rehabilitation program based on the theory of movement autonomy, she explained. "We integrate adaptive dance with cutting-edge neuroscientific principles." "If you have credentials in neuroscience and special education," Robert asked, "why do you work as a waitress?" "Because innovative research programs don't fund themselves," Maya replied simply. "And because people like you have rejected our funding proposals 3 times without reading them." The pieces clicked for Robert. "You were Dr. Foster's research assistant on those proposals." "Co-author," Dr. Foster corrected firmly. "Maya's theoretical work on movement autonomy in disabled children is groundbreaking." "You knew who I was," Robert said slowly. "From the moment you saw me at the restaurant." "From the moment you walked in," Maya confirmed. "When Luna stood up to dance, I recognized the opportunity to show you what we do here instead of just telling you about it in a proposal you'd never read." "Was it staged? The dance?" "Absolutely not," Maya said firmly. "Luna's decision was entirely her own. My choice was simply whether to follow her lead or dismiss her the way everyone else was prepared to do." Reporters entered the studio, cameras ready. Robert tensed with instinctive wariness. "What's this?" "Part of the story we're telling," Maya replied. Dr. Foster handed Robert a newspaper article with the headline, "Revolutionary Motor Rehabilitation Methodology Shows Promising Results." "We published our preliminary research findings today," Dr. Foster explained. "The data is remarkable. Children in our program show significantly faster improvement compared to traditional approaches." "You used my daughter for a publicity stunt," Robert said, his voice like ice. Maya led him into a smaller room where walls were covered with photographs of dozens of children, each with progress statistics and personal stories. "This program has helped over 200 children in 6 years," Maya said quietly. "Every one of them someone's precious child." On the far wall was a large, empty frame. "What's that?" Robert asked. "Our future," Maya replied. "The full rehabilitation center we could build if we had adequate resources. We could help 500 children a year instead of 50. Robert stared at the empty frame. "You orchestrated all of this," he said finally. "The dance, the meeting, bringing me here on the day you released your research findings." "I saw an opportunity and took it," Maya admitted. "When your foundation canceled our meeting and returned our proposal on red, I promised myself I would find a way to make you see what we're really doing here." "Maya," Ava called urgently from the doorway. "You need to see this." It's Luna." They rushed back to the main studio, where a circle had formed around Luna. Someone had turned off the background music, and the entire room watched in complete silence. Luna had removed one of her leg braces and was attempting to balance on just one support, her body trembling with effort, but her expression fierce with focus. Robert started forward instinctively, but Maya placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Wait," she whispered. "Watch." Luna took a deep breath, found her center of gravity, and then took a complete step without full mechanical support. It was small, shaky, and required tremendous effort, but it was entirely her own. The children burst into spontaneous applause. Cameras flashed, and Robert's face, usually so composed, was now openly vulnerable with unshed tears. "That's why we created Freedom Steps," Maya said softly. "It's not about perfect steps or meeting timelines. It's about first steps taken on your own terms, in your own time." Robert watched his daughter, seeing her not as a problem to be solved, but as a complete person discovering her own strength. The transformation in Luna's face was more profound than any progress report from the world's most expensive specialists. The reporters had noticed Robert now, recognizing him despite his casual attire. Luna, oblivious to the larger drama, continued. Practicing with single-minded focus, Robert Montgomery found himself at a crossroads. He could withdraw in anger, or he could embrace this moment that Luna had created through her own courage. "Mr. Montgomery," a reporter approached. "Could you comment on your presence here today? Is it true that the Montgomery Foundation rejected funding for this program 3 times? Robert glanced at Luna, still practicing with determination that reminded him painfully of Catherine. Then, to everyone's surprise, he smiled. Not his calculated business expression, but something genuine and unguarded. "You know what's the hardest thing for someone in my position?" Robert addressed the reporter, but spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear, his voice carrying vulnerability no one would have recognized. "Admitting when we're wrong." A stunned silence filled the warehouse. The Montgomery Foundation is pleased to announce a commitment to fully fund Freedom Steps for the next 5 years, Robert continued. "We will also be providing resources to build a permanent rehabilitation center based on the innovative methodology developed by Dr. Foster and Ms. Thompson." Camera flashes exploded, reporters scribbled frantically, and Ava let out a cry of joy. "On one condition," Robert added, finding Maya's gaze, "that Ms. Thompson retained complete autonomy over the program. No corporate interference, no board oversight. This is her vision, and it should remain under her direction." 6 months later, bulldozers were clearing ground for the new Freedom Steps Rehabilitation Center in Queens. The project was carefully planned, with every space designed through direct input from the children and families who would use it. Maya supervised construction frequently, but she was never alone. Luna showed up regularly, sometimes bringing school friends, and to everyone's amazement, Robert Montgomery also appeared on site, wearing a hard hat and studying blueprints with corporate intensity. "I never thought you'd actually show up to our weekly planning meetings," Maya commented one afternoon as they reviewed architectural drawings. "I never thought I'd be studying pediatric neuroplasticity at age 50, Robert replied, gesturing to research journals marked with sticky notes. Luna asked to have her second brace removed last week. "I know. What did her physical therapist say?" "Her previous therapist said that would be impossible for 2 more years. Robert's voice carried vindication. "But I fired her last month. Because you told me she was wrong. And she was." Robert pointed to a photograph showing Luna balancing confidently with only one crutch. "Luna is progressing faster than any traditional medical prediction suggested." Maya studied Robert's face, noting how months of collaboration had softened his rigid control into something more flexible, more human. "She's removing the second brace next month. Her doctors say she might walk completely unassisted by her 12th birthday. Luna says she'll walk unassisted by her 11th birthday," Maya smiled. "I trust her assessment more than theirs." Robert laughed genuinely. "She gets that determination from her mother." It was the first time Robert had mentioned his late wife without the conversation becoming heavy with grief, healing announcing itself through small moments of normalcy. "There's something else," Robert said, his voice growing tentative. "Something personal. Luna wants to invite you to dinner. At our house. not for business, just because she considers you family. The weight of that invitation settled between them, being welcomed not as an employee, but as someone who mattered in the intimate spaces where a father and daughter were rebuilding their relationship. "And you?" Maya asked gently. "Do you consider me family?" Robert's answer came without hesitation. "I consider you the person who taught me how to follow my daughter's lead instead of trying to make her follow mine. I consider you the person who showed me that strength isn't about control. It's about having the courage to let the people you love become who they're meant to be." Through the window, Luna's laughter rang across the construction site as she successfully completed a movement sequence she had been practicing for weeks. The sound was pure joy, happiness that comes from achieving something difficult through your own determination. Maya looked through the window at the girl who had started this transformation with one brave request for a dance. The future stretched ahead, full of possibilities none of them could have imagined that night when a disabled child reached out her hand and changed 3 lives forever. And for the first time in years, Robert Montgomery smiled with the uncomplicated happiness of a father whose daughter was truly, completely, radiantly free. What did you think of Maya's approach? Was she right to orchestrate that first meeting, or should she have tried more conventional methods? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to check out our other videos about courage, transformation, and the unexpected ways that strangers can become family. This has been the Black Side Stories. Until next time, remember, behind every great achievement is someone who stood watch, someone who believed, someone who preserved what matters when no one else was looking.